What's up, Rupert here. In this video, I want to give a little bit of a breakdown from a spiral perspective, specifically for my friends in the green heart space that are upset, confused, or just don't understand or are scared now that Trump has been elected into office. Okay? Now, if you are in the green heart-based collectivist worldview and value system, it might seem as a shock, right? The globalist movement, of which the Democrats are very much a part of, and both sides of politics in Australia are very much a part of, that's like the water that we've been swimming in since the 60s and 70s, right? The 60s and 70s tipping point with the green heart-based movement was the counterculture to the individualistic, modern, materialistic, industrial, solar plexus worldview. So when the green originally emerged, it was, you could say, the good guys, right? It was the counter, the evolutionary counter to the chaos that was coming out of the solar plexus, individualistic, material worldview with World War I and World War II. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why it can seem so confusing. But the thing is, the green heart space worldview collectivist mindset has also flourished, in which most of us were born and have come of age, and we were swimming in this worldview and this perspective without even knowing it. But that's now crumbling. Like, if the dark side of the green heart space worldview is emerging, it's what people call the woke mind virus. And what happened with the election in America is a tipping point. It's a massive tipping point in that the people, especially in America, said no more to this globalist woke mind virus that has really, it's like eating itself. And so what's the alternative? Well, we've got the orange man, Trump, businessman. I would say he's still very much in the solar plexus, right? But I think rather than regressing, what they're doing is evolving, right? And hopefully moving up into integral consciousness, because if you look at the people that Trump is surrounding himself with, like if you look at his interviews, the biggest thing he said was, I had the wrong people in place the first time he was in. He just kind of went along with, all of the bureaucracy and the so-called experts, and everyone was just sort of around him, advising him. And he sort of stepped into that government space with all of the bureaucrats and the advisors there, not knowing that they're all so corrupt. Now, look, Trump is not perfect. He's a flawed human, just like all of us, right? So I'm not saying that he's the perfect antidote to everything, but what this means, he's now basically going, well, I'm just going to find the best at that particular thing and put them in place. Elon Musk, Department of Government Efficiency. He's an efficient mofo. He knows how to get stuff done, right? He cut 80% of the Twitter staff and Twitter keeps going. Okay, now Musk has his own biases as well. But if you are in this green heart space worldview, you're getting all of your news from most of the mainstream, you're within the mainstream social media, the meta platforms, it might seem as a shock, right? It seemed like it was going to be a close election, all of these things. That's what all the reports were. But if you're on Twitter, it's another world. Now, Twitter has its own bias, for sure, absolutely. But we're in this age now, a multipolar world of perspectives and worldviews and values, that in order to make sense of it, as informed citizens or agents on this planet, we need to be picking up multiple data points through these things on the screen. I'm just one data point for you to pick up, but you want to pick up multiple data points and start to build your own map. So when I can look at all the mainstream news, I can look at the meta platforms, I can look at all the anti-Trump stuff and the pro-Democrat stuff, I go, okay, cool. Then I go to Twitter and I can see all the other side of things, which also has its own bias. But then from my own perspective, I can start to build a map and go, oh, okay, I can get a better picture of reality. So for people that are doing that, it wasn't such a surprise. It was actually a relief, right? Because, there's all these shenanigans from the Democrats with, not rigging elections, but manipulating it the way it can be done. But it was such a landslide, like such an overwhelming groundswell movement behind Trump. It is wild. And I say that it's integral in the sense that all of these people that he's assembling have been slogging it away on their own. They've been cast aside from the group, from the mainstream for so long. You know, Musk has done it with Tesla massively, with SpaceX massively. He's like going against the grain, saying, no, I have a vision, I know how to do it, I know how to speak it and implement it. And more so with the age of the internet and the old globalist legacy systems and how they captured sort of the mainstream social media, it's individual characters that are now standing on their own right. Like we've been complaining about how politicians are puppets. You know, the next one steps in, it doesn't matter. And that is true from that globalist perspective, because the collective identity is more important than the individual. And I mean, it was really manifest with the whole Biden and Kamala thing. It's like just swap out Biden, put in Kamala. They didn't do any primary votes. It was all very, very well organized from men behind the scenes. But on the flip side, you've got these characters like Musk and Trump and RFK and Tulsi Gabbard, and then people like Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan. They're all doing long form interviews. They're all, you know, you can disagree with what they're saying for sure, right? But by watching them across multiple data points, you start to pick up an accurate picture, right? Someone like Trump, someone like Musk, you can watch them do 10 interviews over a week on 10 different things, and you can see the consistency in their message, right? They will be consistent in particular areas with their messaging, and you start to get an accurate picture. But someone like Kamala, there's no consistency. And I would say that about in Australia as well, with all of the sort of old guard, right? All of our politicians, there's no real consistency in what they say. They flip it backwards and forwards just to placate and please people. And it's really gross and disgusting. And what we're seeing now is this emergence of, it's like a new breed of politician or a shift in power. Now, it's not perfect, right? And there'll be a lot of criticism saying, well, now Musk owns the platform and he's close to Trump and da-da-da-da-da and all this. It's like, yes, that's right. There's been a shift in the power. And if you hate power or people holding power, then you might hate that as well. But it's a different type of power, right? I would say that it's a more authentic, more genuine, and more like, hey, you got to put your name on the line here and back what your policies are. And that's kind of how I see it playing out. And so if you're still in the green heart-based worldview, it can seem like a shock. It's like, oh no, but it's not the world that's ending, it's just your worldview. Okay, so if you're in this space and you're feeling that, how can you move through it? How can you evolve beyond this? Well, what I've done, and I've been doing it for like 10 years now, the best thing you can do is try to understand the opposite point of view. Like genuinely, just imagine, try and imagine a general person voting for Trump. Like, why would they do that? For me, it started 10 years ago when it was the same-sex marriage debate, the referendum, and my neighbor at the time was posting a lot of no stuff. And he's, conservative Christian. And I really wanted to understand, why is he so passionate about this no? Can I put myself in his perspective? Can I imagine where he's coming from? Can I understand where he's coming from? I can still disagree, right? I can still disagree, but can I understand? And this helps us build up a truly multipolar perspective, and an integral perspective when we can actually shift our value systems or imagine that we're in a different value system and imagine how that person might feel or their values that they might have. Anyway, a bit of a long-winded rant. I hope you got some value out of it. And if you are in that green heart-based worldview and you're having a meltdown, you don't understand why, you think it's all gone to shit, I really encourage you to get out there and start taking on different points of view, right? Because for the people that are doing that, it was quite obvious what was coming. Anyway, hope you're well and keep thriving. Peace.